Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be exploring something I think is super fascinating. We're going to be talking about the power of the unconscious mind, hypnotic trance, and even time distortion. We'll be looking at excerpts from Milton Erickson's work on hypnosis, NLP manuals, and some pretty mind-blowing research on time perception. But we're not just going to explore these concepts theoretically. We're going to try to figure out how you can actually use these in your daily life.
Giving you a toolkit for hacking your own reality.
Exactly.
We're going to kind of uncover the mechanisms behind these seemingly esoteric ideas and kind of translate them into techniques you can integrate into your daily routine.
Exactly. Imagine being able to influence your own perception of time, change unwanted emotional responses, reframe limiting beliefs.
Absolutely.
That's what we're tapping into today.
And the beauty of it is that it all starts with understanding the unconscious mind. Like, it's the operating system running in the background of your mind, and it's influencing everything you do.
Right.
And once you learn to communicate with it, you can start to change the program.
So let's start with hypnotic trance. Milton Erickson, one of the pioneers of hypnotherapy, described deep hypnosis as functioning at an unconscious level of awareness. What does that actually mean?
So think of it this way. In our everyday awareness, we're constantly analyzing, judging, making conscious decisions. But in a deep hypnotic trance, the conscious mind kind of takes a back seat and the unconscious mind comes to the forefront. It's a state where you're more receptive to suggestion and where your perceptions and behaviors can be influenced on a deeper level.
So that sounds a bit like those stage hypnotists who make people cluck like chickens, right?
Not exactly.
All right.
So while stage hypnosis uses similar principles, Erickson's approach was much more nuanced and therapeutic. He was really focused on utilizing the individual's own inner resources to achieve some kind of positive change. He wasn't about controlling people. He was really about helping them access the hidden potential within their own minds.
So it's not about mind control. It's about self-discovery and personal transformation.
Precisely. And to illustrate this, let's look at one of Erickson's fascinating experiments on hypnotic colorblindness. So he used indirect suggestions to inhibit a subject's responses to certain colors. And get this, they actually started exhibiting behaviors consistent with actual colorblindness, even though their vision was perfectly normal.
Hold on. You're telling me that you could make people hallucinate being colorblind?
It's a very powerful demonstration of how the unconscious mind can literally shape our perception of reality.
That's wild.
And here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners. Imagine being able to apply that same principle to change unwanted emotional responses or habits.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like if you can unconsciously shift something as fundamental as color perception, think about the possibilities for personal growth.
My mind is officially blown.
Good.
So how did Erickson actually induce these trance states? Was it like snapping his fingers and saying, "You are now under my control"?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Erickson was famous for his indirect, permissive approach. He used techniques like pacing and leading, where he would subtly match the patient's language, breathing patterns, even body posture.
Oh, wow.
To create rapport and gently guide them into a more receptive state.
So it's almost like a dance, a subtle back and forth until the patient is ready to go deeper.
Exactly.
So how can our listeners start applying this concept of pacing and leading into their everyday lives?
So think about a time that you were trying to persuade someone, right? Did you jump right into your argument? Or did you first try to find common ground? Align with their perspective before introducing your own ideas. That's pacing and leading in action. You're essentially speaking to their unconscious mind, bypassing any conscious resistance.
That's a brilliant insight. So even without formally inducing a trance, we can still use these techniques to communicate more effectively and influence others. Are there any other kind of less formal examples of hypnotic trance states that our listeners might be experiencing on a regular basis?
Absolutely. Think about those times when you're driving a familiar route and suddenly realize you've arrived at your destination without consciously remembering the journey. Or when you get so engrossed in a book or a movie that you completely lose track of time. Those are everyday examples of trance states where your conscious mind takes a break and your unconscious takes over.
Interesting.
And we can actually learn to harness these naturally occurring trance states to achieve our goals.
That makes so much sense. It's like we're all experiencing these altered states of awareness without even realizing. So if we're already tapping into these states unconsciously, how can we start to do it intentionally?
That's where techniques like mindfulness and meditation come in. They train your mind to become aware of those subtle shifts in consciousness and to gently guide your focus
This has already given me a whole new perspective on how my mind works.
What?
It's like realizing we have all these hidden powers within us that we never knew existed, and the fact that we can learn to tap into them intentionally is incredible.
Exactly. And we're just scratching the surface.
Oh.
Next, we'll delve into NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and explore how it can help us deconstruct and rebuild our beliefs.
Oh, wow.
Change unwanted emotional responses, and even play with our perception of time.
Hold on to your hats, folks, because this deep dive is about to get even deeper.
It is.
We're going to equip you with practical techniques you can start using today to unlock the incredible potential of your unconscious mind.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how we all experience these altered states of awareness, like hypnotic trance in our daily lives, without even realizing it.
Right, and we were starting to explore how we can harness those states intentionally, using techniques like mindfulness and meditation.
Right.
But let's dive into something a bit more tangible now.
Okay.
What about NLP, or neuro-linguistic? You mentioned it earlier as a way to potentially change our beliefs and even our perception of time.
Yes.
Can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. NLP is a fascinating field that explores the connection between our neurology, language, and behavior. It's a toolbox filled with techniques for understanding how our minds work and, more importantly, how to reprogram them to achieve our goals.
Reprogramming our minds, that sounds both exciting and a little intimidating. You give us a specific example of an NLP technique and how someone might use it in their everyday life.
Sure, let's take the concept of anchoring. It's based on the idea that we can associate certain feelings or states with specific triggers, like a touch, a sound, or even a mental image.
So like Pavlov's dogs, but instead of drooling, we're triggering positive emotional states.
Exactly. Imagine you have a big presentation coming up and you tend to get nervous beforehand. With anchoring, you could identify a time when you felt incredibly confident and resourceful.
Right.
Maybe it was nailing a previous presentation or receiving an award. You vividly recall that memory, focusing on the sights, sounds, and especially the feeling of confidence surging through you.
Right.
While you're in that peak state, you create an anchor, maybe squeezing your thumb and forefinger together, and repeat this process several times.
Gotcha.
Now, whenever you need a boost of confidence, you simply trigger that anchor.
Okay.
And voila, you access that powerful state.
That's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon for controlling your emotions.
Right.
Are there other examples of how someone could use NLP in their daily life?
Well, remember those limiting beliefs we talked about earlier?
Yes.
The ones that whisper doubts in our ears?
Mm-hmm.
NLP offers a technique called reframing that can help us challenge and transform those beliefs.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I think we all have those negative self-talk tapes playing sometimes.
Yeah.
How does reframing work in practice?
It's about shifting your perspective, finding a new and more empowering meaning in a situation or belief.
Right.
For example, let's say someone constantly tells themselves, I'm terrible at math.
Yeah.
That belief might be based on a past experience, maybe struggling in a math class or getting a bad grade. Reframing might involve exploring the positive intentions behind the belief.
Okay.
Maybe it protected them from feeling stupid or inadequate.
Holding on to that belief might be preventing them from pursuing opportunities that require even basic math skills.
Exactly. Reframing might involve acknowledging those past experiences, but then challenging the generalization.
Okay.
Maybe they were great at geometry but struggled with algebra, or maybe they were simply lacking the right teaching style or support at the time.
Gotcha.
The goal is to create a more balanced and nuanced perspective, one that doesn't limit their future possibilities.
So instead of seeing themselves as inherently bad at math,
Right.
they might reframe it as, I haven't found the right approach to math yet, but I'm open to learning.
That's a great reframe. And the beauty of it is that once you shift that internal belief, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
This is starting to feel like we're building a mental toolkit for personal growth.
Yeah.
We've got anchoring for controlling our emotions,
Right.
reframing for challenging limiting beliefs. What other tools does NLP offer?
Well, we touched on time distortion earlier, and NLP actually offers some intriguing techniques for influencing our subjective experience of time.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You're saying we can actually make time go faster or slower using NLP.
It's not about literally manipulating the clock,
Right.
but rather about changing how we perceive and experience time internally. One technique involves playing with our internal representations of time. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed by a long to-do list.
Yeah.
You might imagine that list shrinking down to a manageable size.
Oh, wow.
Or you might visualize yourself moving through each task with ease and efficiency.
So it's about shifting our mental imagery to create a different emotional response to time.
Exactly. By changing how we represent time in our minds,
Wow.
we can influence our feelings of urgency, pressure, and even procrastination.
My mind is officially blown. We've gone from inducing hypnotic trances to controlling our emotions to actually bending time with NLP.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
It's incredible to think that we have this much power over our own experiences.
Absolutely. And remember, these are just a few examples of the tools and techniques that NLP offers.
Right.
The more you explore this field, the more you'll discover about the incredible plasticity of the human mind and the infinite possibilities for personal transformation.
This is such an empowering message for our listeners. We're all walking around with these incredible superpowers,
Right.
but most of us don't even know they exist. But by understanding how our minds work and by learning these techniques, we can literally reprogram ourselves for success, happiness, and
Absolutely.
And it all starts with that awareness,
Yes.
that willingness to question our assumptions and to explore new possibilities.
Exactly. Stay tuned because in the next segment, we'll dive even deeper into NLP,
Okay.
uncovering more of its secrets and exploring how to integrate these powerful tools into our daily lives to create lasting change.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the depths of the unconscious mind, hypnotic trance, and even time distortion.
It's been quite a ride.
We've been equipping you with a mental toolkit,
Right.
introducing NLP techniques like anchoring and reframing that you can start using today to transform your emotional responses and challenge those pesky limiting beliefs.
Absolutely.
I have to say, my mind is feeling pretty flexible after all this bending. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure our listeners walk away with a clear understanding of how to actually integrate these concepts into their daily lives. It's one thing to understand the theory, but how do we put it into practice?
That's a great point. It's not about memorizing a bunch of techniques.
Right.
It's about developing a new mental model, a new way of approaching life's challenges and opportunities.
Right.
And it all starts with cultivating
Awareness of what exactly?
awareness of your thoughts, your feelings, your internal dialogue, and especially the stories you tell yourself. Remember, those stories are often based on outdated beliefs and limiting assumptions.
Right.
NLP teaches us that we have the power to rewrite those narratives, to create more empowering stories that support our goals and aspirations.
So it's about becoming the author of our own lives, rather than just passively reading the script that's been handed to us?
Exactly, and that's where the NLP toolkit comes in. Techniques like anchoring and reframing give you the power to edit the script, to change the dialogue,
Right.
and to ultimately create a new ending.
I love that analogy. But for those of us who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information, where do we even begin?
Start small. Choose one area of your life where you'd like to see a change. Maybe it's improving your confidence, managing stress, or overcoming procrastination.
Right.
Then explore the NLP techniques we've discussed and see which ones resonate with you. Experiment, play around, and see what works.
It's about finding the tools that feel right for you, the ones that fit your unique personality and goals.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a process, not a quick fix. Be patient with yourself and don't be afraid to seek guidance from a qualified NLP practitioner if you need support.
This deep dive has been such an eye-opening experience. It's like we've been given a glimpse behind the curtain, revealing the hidden mechanisms that drive our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
It really is fascinating.
And the most important takeaway is that you are not a passive observer in your own life.
Right.
You have the power to choose your thoughts, to shape your emotions, and to ultimately create the reality you desire.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the depths of the unconscious mind. We hope you've gained valuable insights and practical tools to start hacking your own reality. Remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and the more you learn about your own mind, the more empowered you become to live a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep diving deep.